Hello, Ronald Castle. This is Stephen Thetford, and I was a juror at the recent Texas Professional Photographers Association Summerfest print competition. And today we are here to do a critique for your image, Texas Toast, which scored a 79. Wow, so close. My heart goes out to you. I hate it when we hit those 79s because there's just a few things typically that would have made this into the next category, into the merit category. And so we want to look at a few of those things and hopefully we can help you make a few corrections that will help it to do better in print competitions as it goes forward. First of all, let me compliment you on the title, a play on words there, the toast, and of course uh, the use of Texas toast in the restaurant. So I think that was really cute. That will typically get the attention of judges when they hear those titles. And so I compliment you on that. There's a beautiful scene here that you have with a beautiful Texas sky and just a fun image to look at. But there were some things that kept the judges from giving you a merit on the image. So let's look at a couple of things just to make some suggestions for you there. First of all, for the matting choice, a little bit heavy for me. Keep in mind, sorry, that that colors and shapes have weight within an image, and black is typically quite heavy. And so what we see here, for me, is the heavy black border that was chosen tends to be a little overkill, I think, for the image in itself. I perhaps would have chosen a color closer in here to maybe some of the darker images in the landscape there that would have been a little better blend and not quite so oppressive. In addition to the black choice, we also have a fairly tight cropping. So those things together begin to make the mat just a little bit ominous for me. Speaking of the cropping, we're cropping into the side of the stock tank or storage tank here that you have on both sides. And that too is just a bit of a concern, I would think. Typically when you think of Texas, West Texas especially, with the big open skies and open range, the idea of being hemmed in, closed in, with a tight crop and a heavy border really is not consistent with the feel. So I think you could play on those a little more going forward, maybe pick up a few extra points with the viewer with being consistent there. The tank itself is a really fun location, no doubt. I don't know that I've ever seen a wood tank like this, but this may be pretty common where you're from, but it's really interesting. It has a lot of character in it. It was a great choice on it. Uh, However, the way the tank is presented here, a couple of things. The lower right-hand corner is pretty bright on the tank. It's obviously that's the direction of the sun, but it's also competing even with the skin tones of the young lady in the water. So I think probably a good idea would be to tone this area in here down just a bit, make it come in here more to this value where your eye is not drawn there. Uh, the tank itself, I realize you have your horizon line in here uh, perfectly horizontal, but in doing so, there may be a little more slope in there in the horizon line. But what it's done is actually made the tank look like it's leaning to our left. I did a quick check on in Photoshop while ago and drug a ruler down on it, and it actually does seem to be leaning a little bit to the left from the center here to there. So that's not necessarily a positive thing when you've got water in there. Uh, the fix on that maybe be to stretch the tank a little bit where they're both parallel, or even get a compromise between it and the horizon line. So those two things on the tank itself. I love the idea of the young lady toasting. You put that in a very good place. Got the glass and a highlight area in the water, which is really lets it show up well. That was a good choice. I'm a little concerned, however, about the placement of the bottle coming right here into her underarm. I understand that that's a very important part of the story, but perhaps had that not been directly there and competing with her and sort of an odd placement, maybe a little further out here would have been a good choice to have placed that bottle. The other thing is I'm a little concerned about the young lady and how flattering the particular pose, especially on this arm, is for her arm. Maybe a little liquefy on that would have helped that situation is all, being a little more flattering of her in there. But I love the sky that you've got here, the big Texas sky. Once again, keeping in mind the cropping have been a little looser to let us enjoy and feel that freedom of the big Texas sky. I might have suggested that had there been the sun on your original capture, that the sun might have been a good choice in there as well, or to drop a sun in there, because as she's toasting, we can appreciate what she is toasting, but we don't see it. Now, obviously, we can tell by the brightness in the area that this is where it's at, but it might have been an extra point or two, or just a little more understanding of the storyline to have actually had the sun that she was toasting in there. So I think you've got some real potential here. Just to reiterate, maybe a border that's not quite as heavy, quite as constrictive. Maybe a straightening of the tank, working down the hot spots in here that are not necessarily adding to the story. We've got all we need here in the character of the stock tank there, and just the weathered look that it has. Take this down where it's not drawing our attention there. And then maybe a little more flattering uh, work on her arm, and especially this one in this area, and to move the bottle out from under her arm, specifically there crossing her in the shoulder. So a couple of things that might help you get this into the next category. I wish you the best and hope to see this image again do well somewhere in the future. Thank you, Ronald. I appreciate you listening to this and hope it's been a help for you.